So, but I want to start with something you mentioned, which is several times, which was this notion that perhaps we need to practice democracy more as a way to keep in check some of our more tribal instincts and those types of things. That's certainly a common theme throughout democracy scholarship over time. But as you know, there's also um, some concern or the belief that too much democracy is not necessarily a good thing either. So how do you think about that balance in your mind, or how did you think about it as you were working on your Washington Post piece?
Well, it's an excellent point because, I think where we definitely have had too much democracy is in party primary systems. And what's sort of interesting is that, as I'm sure some of you know, after the McGovern loss in 1972, the Democratic Party, whose primary system had gotten increasingly democratic, decided that they needed to get a little bit more control of the primary selection process and instituted some reforms, which some of which we could even see today. I don't know whether superdelegates was created then, but the principle of superdelegates is certainly in that thing. Now, and then on the other side, the Republicans had actually almost completely democratized their primary system, which, you think, well, that's more democratic, but no one ever said that the selection of party candidates had to be democratic. And I would say there is an argument for saying, give me some smoke filled rooms. Because one thing we know is that organized political parties that were less democratic, i.e., like the Democratic Party throughout much of the first half of the 20th century, or the Republican Party for that matter, they weeded out the Donald Trumps of this world. No one was nominating Father Coughlin in the 1930s, and the closest you ever got was like Robert Taft, who was a thoroughly conventional politician. Um, and it's only you can only get a Donald Trump if you have a completely democratic system, which, by the way, it's democratic in a way, but of course we're talking about a fraction of the country and a fraction of that fraction. And when you're talking about primary voters, then you're talking about a fraction of a fraction of a fraction. So it's a very small number of people that are making the decision, but it's being made democratically. So I would have hoped the Republican Party would want to get control of itself, but it has not for obvious reasons. Now, that's true in the party system. In the system at large, I'm not. I think more democracy is better, and we have certain obstacles to democracy that we've created, including, for instance, the filibuster. Which, there were arguments for the filibuster, but this is clearly one of those times when it's something that does need to be overridden, and it would be more democratic to override it, and yet we can't. We obviously, for all kinds of reasons that can't bring ourselves to do it. So the only place where I would like to see less democracy is in primaries.